keep hearing about all this Hearthstone talk on the podcasts of Angry Chicken, but I just can't stop thinking about whenever I hear that word. I think back in my day, probably 2008 or so, Hearthstone used to mean the stone you kept in your bag in World of Warcraft to get yourself back to your save point. So that it's usually at an innkeeper, and if you lost it, you could just go back to any innkeeper and get it again. If you needed room in your bag for something else that was really important, you could toss it, but then you're at risk of not being able to Hearthstone back to your save point. But you want to use your Hearthstone back in World of Warcraft so you could get your resting XP built up, because you don't get nearly as much resting XP if you're out in the field somewhere as opposed to being at an inn. So the Hearthstone was pretty nice to use, and I believe it had a cooldown of 60 minutes, something like that. So you couldn't use it like too frequently. And that's what I think of when it comes to Hearthstone. It's completely different from the Hearthstone game, the card game. Why they call it that and not like World of Warcraft? Because they're using a lot of World of Warcraft characters and moves and stuff. In fact, a lot of the spells and characters that I use, I can immediately reflect back on how I used to use them in World of Warcraft. But why they didn't call it like the World of Warcraft card game or something like that? Why they call it Hearthstone? Where the origins of Hearthstone is pretty much just getting back to your save points so you can build up your resting XP, or it's what do they call it? You can transport yourself like what mages do. They make that portal or something so you can get back and just bounce over to the inn or something. That's what it means, and it's just all a reminiscing for me, and that's what gives the game of Hearthstone a lot of value to me, is just because it reminds me of those years I was playing World of Warcraft. But it's my experience, because I just ran into a guy who plays Hearthstone, but he never played World of Warcraft, so he doesn't understand like a lot of the backgrounds that these cards have. These cards, they were formed as a part of the game of World of Warcraft first, in a lot of ways. The artists and the people who conceptualized the austerity of the game, they put it together in a certain way. There's a certain kind of artistic approach to it and all that, and this Hearthstone game, this card game, reflects all that. And in Warcraft, in Warcraft actually, it goes back a long way. Not just World of Warcraft. What am I saying? There's back. It goes back as far as the late '90s, the mid to late '90s. But there are some people, they're kids, younger people are coming up who don't really know that kind of history. They're getting hooked on just Hearthstone without knowing anything about the whole Blizzard like history, without experiencing the history of Blizzard. I mean, I played Warcraft 2, I played Warcraft 3. I loved StarCraft. There's no StarCraft references. That's unfortunate. They could probably make some kind of a game like Hearthstone on a StarCraft type of theme. They should get on that. That'd be kind of cool. They could be like a Hearthstone 2. It'd be I don't know, something like power overwhelming or something like that because they just make up Hearthstone as a name for a game.